Hey guys, this is Carnifex, another Nerd This video. Today we're going to go over the announcements that came out earlier today. So a lot of people reacting to stuff. I am very positive overall on this. They do not give me any money. I have never done like a sponsored thing. I have only done this because I thought it was fun and helpful, and so I'm definitely not trying to be like a rock the flock guy. I'll get to more on that at the end once we go over stuff. But anyway, let's go hit the stuff. So we got Lake coming out soon. I thought he was going to be a healer. Apparently he's going to be a mage. Here we go. First, blah, 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 bring lots of changes. This is not active on the test server yet, but once it is and they let us show stuff, I will happily do that. Got the new hero of Lake. It's going to be from Special Offer. Ooh, I'm going to move that up. Special Offer like with Slinger. And then a tournament shop where we currently have Bori, Phalia, and Wonderlula, and special tournaments, the first of which will begin early March. So usually with special tournaments, they run a little longer, so that's why they're kind of making a distinction between special tournaments. And then Gorm is going to be available for farming. You can get him from a special event, tournament, common market, and from campaign. So special event, this is like what we got Hilda in. So we're probably all going to get like 50-ish shards of him, 25 to 50 shards probably, enough to unlock him and use him pretty quickly. Tournament, this is not tournament shop. This is just in tournaments. It's just not a special tournament because he's more accessible in other ways. They don't run as long. It's kind of like the Sergeant Pigwald tournament, if you want to think about that, versus like the Wonderlula tournament. Common market and from campaign. So common market's where you drop like 400 drat coins, right, for 5 shards, and then campaign. This is actually one of my favorite nodes in the entire game because it is the only place you can farm Overthrower, and Martyr's on there too. It's been Sengiel's node, and I've had him with enough, like, for forever. I've had enough shards for him, and I 7-starred him in time for the Ember event, but I have still farmed it pretty consistently because I just always need those dang things. So I'm glad that they're putting him on a really useful event. Now, the con of this is arguably the hardest node to 3-star in the entire campaign, all the campaigns. So it will be hard to do, but, just hopefully as people continue building up characters, they're going to be able to get that locked down. So added new tournaments and events. Cool. New 7-day reward available for players of level 16 and above. You'll get 3-star purple crit chance runes and Snorri Hero Stones for playing for 7 days straight. So it doesn't matter if you're new, doesn't matter if you've been playing since launch, since beta, you're going to get this. We've restored all special offers the old players missed that you couldn't unpeer. So basically, if you unlock too many characters at once when the game came out, you would have to, then you would only get one upgrade pack, and these were pretty cheap. You would get some pretty great value from them early on, and so a bunch of people were really bummed because they just, for whatever reason, had it coded that way. They changed it, but in my opinion, unfortunately, these are all going to be at level. So wherever you're at right now, they didn't have tracking after the whole incident happened. They added tracking, but at the time they weren't tracking the level at which these people were being offered things. It was just, did they take it, did they not? Just for their own kind of like business metrics or whatever. Part of me says they could have kind of offered like a fixed kind of pack, but like a fixed at like a lower, like a $10 pack kind of thing. There was never probably going to be a great way to fix this that was going to please everybody. I'm not upset about it. I'm at least happy with the fact that they went through the effort to do it, and the gesture's worth more than probably what I will invest into it for me. Even though that I probably would have dropped on a couple of those if they had been the cheaper versions. But change the ability scrolls, golden XP tome events. They're just increasing the tempo. They're going to happen more often, which is great. More stuff for nothing. Lots of improvements and bug fixes. There you go. So tower changes. This is one of the couple big, there's a few big things. This is one of them for sure. It's going to be two difficulty modes to the tower. You got normal and hard. Every time you restart the tower, you can choose which tower difficulty you want to attempt to complete this time. So just whenever you restart, you'll have an option on one side. Do you want to do normal? Do you want to do hard? And it'll tell you, hey, this one's this percentage like more difficult, but this one has this percentage more rewards, blah blah blah. And you'll just choose between the two, and you won't be able to change until you restart the next time. So normal tower mode now requires 100 runs to unlock auto run, and a hard mode requires 150. All current progress will move. So if you have done it 80 times, you'll have 20 left of any difficulty to get normal mode auto run unlocked. No 70 more of hard mode. So like I was saying there, when you complete a tower in hard mode, it counts for both. Normal only count towards normal, so you don't have to like do 100 and then do like another 150. Like hard mode and normal mode are both unlocked from the beginning, and you could do exclusively 150 hard runs. You could do that. I at least like the option to right now. I'm probably not. I'm not gonna quite. I admit I slacked a little bit, and that's why I was pushing everyone. Like, guys, I know it's hard, but you definitely want to get in your tower runs for at least the next few days. Before the difficulty jumps up. I wasn't finishing that sentence, but that was the answer. And I like the fact that and shortly, if there's a day where it's just like, I'm busy, I got life, then I could get only 10% reduced rewards for an auto run after 100. I am totally okay with that. Obviously making things more difficult and like, eek, but your boy Carnifex is going to figure it out. He's going to put out a video, and we're going to get it done. A brief note about the matchmaking system. Basically, it's going to prevent repeat people at the correct power level as long as they have someone within the range. They're kind of going to exhaust the pool within your range, and then you'll end up seeing them again. Now, this isn't going to change things too much because the strongest arena teams are all meta teams, and that's what people are using. I would still, again, this is kind of one of those partial progress things, right? Even if we don't get exactly what we kind of would like things to end up at, if we can at least get closer to that, I can be patient and do that over time. And also, like the incorrect ability things with cooldowns, it's now been fixed. So again, like more good stuff, and really like hard, even I'm sure. So as you can see, right, it says compared to the current tower, normal is easier by 25%, only lowers rewards by 10%. Hard, more difficult, but rewards are higher by about 50%. So here's the thing here. Unless they've like created bots that have higher power levels than anyone can even have, I don't even know what they would do to do that, and I don't think they've done that. Once you hit a certain point, it can't get more difficult. The only way it's going to get more difficult is because they use more characters with maxed out leadership abilities that aren't in the leadership slot. Like, that's pretty much all that can really happen. So for those who have already kind of like gotten there, the difficulty is going to be that it will get harder sooner. Not that the top will become any harder, because it can't be. You're already there. But that it will become harder sooner. But you get 50% higher rewards. That's pretty crazy. It's a lot more gold. That's the main thing I keep thinking about. That's a lot more gold. Rewards for the middling places has been increased. Right? So not the gold tier, not the gray tier, but everything in between, the rewards have been increased. Who's being silly here? All right. Additional attempts can be, I guess we know who they think the next legendary is. Additional attempts can be bought only twice per tournament. So I don't know how people are going to feel about that. I'm okay with it because it's just going to lower the overall time investment into tournaments, and particularly for Rune tournaments, it's going to, I think, make it a bit more bearable, because it's just not going to be as hardcore. You don't have to definitely use all of your cooldowns in order to be able to, you're not going to have to use 5 anyway. You're not going to have to use 5 cooldowns to probably participate at the highest level. You can do it twice. I mean, that's 15 battles you don't have to do now in order to still be competing to the highest level. highest number of opportunities to get wins. And just it's going to reduce it is going to reduce some of the whale to dolphin to FTP situation, because instead of whales going all out and just always buying 5, they're only going to be able to buy 2, which, as we talked about, isn't that different. Rune farming changes. Runes can no longer be obtained from Invasion of Demons, so they're creating a separate campaign, again, like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, right? Completely different campaign, different energy. It's still going to give you only 1 and 2 star runes, at least for the time being. It's going to be significantly easier than Invasions of Demons, so it's going to be more like the clans and order difficulty for those campaigns. Expedition to rare 3-star rune events will now take place every day instead of every 3 days, and you'll have 3 attempts, so you'll have 3 tickets for it instead of 6. So when you do the math on that, we get 50% more rune rewards. I like that. The 2 big things we can see here is increasing the diversity of like where it's available, and overall the quantity of runes that we're going to be getting, to kind of muddy some of the waters where people got insanely like, there's a guy in my guild and my shard who got some bonkers speed secondaries, and I just want more chances to get something along those lines. I did get lucky on a couple myself. All right. But this increasing of diversity of ways to acquire them, it's not just going to be from these rune tournaments, and increasing the quantity overall that we're getting, so that the instances of extreme luck are kind of watered down a bit. Tournaments for and then rare rune expeditions have been lowered for the first 6 battles. So I think what they're saying here, again, I haven't seen it's on the test server, is that there was a actual hard level requirement. So other than tier 7, which is still going to be locked at 8, the other ones are going to be dropped a little bit, and the difficulty on them is going to be dropped accordingly a little bit as well. So they're going to be accessible with less investment than they were before, which I think is overall a good move. Because again, the most valuable one, until you at least got a few, was the 2nd slot anyway, because that's where you could get your 3-star speed primary. So people would just kind of settle for that anyway. I think this is going to help encourage people to get towards that final tier where they're getting 3. Tournaments for epic 4-star runes have returned and been reworked. They now last 2 days, used to be 3. Now we'll have 200 participants. So again, I think this is partial, not complete progress. I think because they have expanded how many ways there are to get these runes, I'm certainly more okay with it. I'm glad that they dropped the extra day, because now you essentially have a day of qualification and a day of participation. So if you just qualified towards the end of it, you're still only playing for like a day. It was just way too much. It was way too much effort, especially whenever there was a chance your heart was going to get broken. We're not increasing the quality of what we're getting any. We are decreasing the amount of people on our level, right? Because we reduced the number of people competing in our event by 100 out of 3, and they're gonna last. For some people who jumped in at the last second, these are literally gonna last half as long now. You're gonna have a day of playing instead of 2 days of playing. I think this is good overall, even though I'm not excited about them coming back. One of the final things that does help with that, though, is that there's going to be a new rune shop, 35 and higher. You can get 3 or 4 star runes up to epic quality for gold. I don't know how much control you're going to have there. I don't know if you're going to be able to specify set or like pay more to specify set. I don't know anything like that. It's probably going to be a better end game investment than a progressing investment. Even if you're like, oh, I want to get like this really strong arena team and I want to give them these souped up runes. If you still need to 7-star characters for like your raid, that needs to be your priority. You need to level up characters so they're able to get the gear they need for the raid. That should be your priority over those runes. It's not going to be as significant of a difference for you. Going to Lake, how do I feel about this kit? Honestly, overall, I am not as crazy about this kit. The main thing that's in his kit that's interesting to me is that he has the tenacity decrease on basic. So against like TIE fighter pilot, right? He has it. Lake has it a 70% chance. Has nothing to do with critting. This is good. It's like a good amount of like single target damage for a basic. It's a really good debuff for the raid. Not as good for arena. And then his specials I'm not too crazy about either. I think the main thing that his buffs do is make his synergy with Ember valuable. So we'll go over this one first. 200% of magic damage. That's not a lot. Removes all burning stacks and deals extra magic damage for each burning stack removed from that specific enemy. So if you remove 4 total, 1 from 4 different characters, each one will take an additional 50% magic damage, except for the one that didn't have the burning. 50% chance to inflict potency decrease for 2 turns. You know, there's a lot of characters that like don't even apply debuffs. 250% isn't crazy. It's definitely good for an AoE. It's not crazy. And it's dependent on those burning stacks, and Ember only has a 70% chance to burn on her AoE. The only thing that is kind of like nice about this is that the cooldowns will sync up. So you'll want to have Lake be the slower of between him and Ember, and basically she's gonna use her basic first, right? Because the specials are on cooldown. He's gonna come up with this, and she's now gonna have damage increase for 2 turns, which will be her 2 specials. So they'll both be boosted, and that's best for her. And also he will have the debuff immunity to, for a couple turns to hopefully prevent him, from getting ability blocked or anything, or just kind of taken out before he can come in, remove those burning stacks from Ember and do more damage. So at least the kit's like timing like synergizes. But overall, I'm just really not so pumped. If he doesn't take damage per turn, he gains haste. The only reason this is potentially great is if you run foul. Otherwise, I think that the AoE meta is just most characters have a solid AoE character on their team, and if you do, then like who cares? Plus, gaining haste could actually cause him to jump out in front of Ember with this before she gets out all the burning. So overall, I'm just like, this is good plug and play for raid. Good, very good plug and play for raid. Not honestly probably that great feeling for arena or like a Panda unlock event. Certainly not bad, but not anything that I'm like, oh man, you need to get this character 7-star, blah, blah, blah. 1,000 penetration, who knows how useful that is. We still don't understand the armor bit too much, but we know that like, hey, a really good armor secondary like has, a couple hundred on it. Okay, like 5 times that, like that's got to be pretty good. It's probably somewhere around, and it's going to depend even on the character they're doing it against too, but probably around like a flat like 10 to 20% reduction on their armor. We'll see. And then each time when a Panda ally counterattacks, he recovers health by 100% of damage dealt. I mean, there must be some other Panda coming on, because otherwise Rune is the only one who's going to have counterattack. And unless you're going to bring in like Kyra or Vendermate to give that to someone else. So again, there must be another Panda coming out at some point in the future, because that really doesn't matter at this point again for anyone other than Rune, who's not even released. So maybe again, like it's just to give a little bit of synergy between him and Rune, and they decided to put it there instead of like some passive or whatever. So there are a few significant kind of like bug fixes, and the rest of them aren't. They are good and they are like fixes, but they're all kind of like the same thing. So Solius can receive additional characteristics instead of other allies for his leadership ability. So not entirely sure what these are. I don't know if this is like ability, like were people not actually getting like the boosted power? I don't know. We'll see. Freezard's ability is fixed. It's now going to reduce the flat percentage instead of a percentage of the term unit that they had. Eric bonus shield at gear 10 is reduced. That's because the difference between him at gear 10 and gear 11, the shield was basically nothing. And so they're like, well, it shouldn't be basically nothing. But he also shouldn't just have a crud ton of shield. He's a DPS. So they lowered his protection, his shield at gear 10. And then this is the big one, right? So her passive, which would always get rid of the ability block before her turn, it would still let her be stunned before her turn. But now all these dispels are going to happen at the end of her turn. So if you have her with damage decrease on from General Murdoch, if you have her with defense decrease on from effects that would have mattered during her turn, which I know I realize armor decrease is not, but ability block, right? Imagine now if you're using Kyra in Arena and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to ability block that. I still think you should do the tank, but you could do Kyra and now all of a sudden it's like, or do Nightiel. She's not going to attack buff everybody and she's not going to come around with that big cannon on her second turn. That's just been buffed up. So I definitely was not on team like Mega Nerf Nightiel. I think this is a reasonable nerfing. Like, it makes her a little less of a demigod and makes her a little more mortal. While still realize the fact like she's meta. It's like there's a dominant meta and that's what it is right now. So basically a lot of people who now consider themselves members of their races and a couple like rando smaller bug fixes, nothing too crazy. So I want to just end on how I'm feeling about the game, because I know some people were kind of like down about stuff today. Overall, I mean, I have zero intent to ever return to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. If I have to choose between some content that has like some flaws that my dev team seems invested in like covering those and getting them fixed, even if it's not, quite at the rate we would want it to, there's still a smaller crew, I 100% take that over, oh, by the way, all new content requires you to drop like $2,000 right now. By the time that I would have been able to do light side Geo, green lightsaber Luke would have been out and the game was dead, actually dead anyway. I know that there are other games for people to play, and if it makes you happy to go play something else, like, do it. For me, I'm fine being patient with this because there's been responsiveness to a degree I think it is fair to expect for a relatively smaller team. So that's how I feel about stuff. Again, like, even if it's partial progress, I'm seeing exclusively progress. Even if it's partial, like, hey, they didn't like Rune tourneys, so they pulled him for a bit until they found a way to make him not as bad. I think they made the Rune tourneys not as bad, both because they added additional ways to get these runes and because they lowered the time commitment in, because runes need to stay random. So, like, what you get out, but you can at least reduce the time investment in if people are going to end up with these broken hearts. Tower, it's like, I still think that they could use to create some bots to increase the diversity in the upper levels just to make it more enjoyable. And I would particularly love for them to do that by the time that they come out with some of the other more endgame content. They're going to be coming out with a new raid and the new game mode. And I'm encouraged to think that they will, because of the ways that they have made some improvements. So there are certainly things I disagree with them on, and like, you guys don't see it, but like, I voice that. I'm like, hey, I don't think this is a good call. I don't think this, but overall, this is way better than anything else I've found from like a dev communication and responsiveness standpoint. And so, like, let's treat them that way. And if it's not fun for you, then like, don't play. Anyways, have a good one. I appreciate all you viewers, all you nerds out there, and I'll see you next time.